right, thank y'all for being here. Significant day for our program as we continue our upward climb. It's we close strong down the stretch. I think it's important to note too, this is our staff really started kind of behind on this class, really going to work on it toward the end of January into February. But I thought we had a strong finish. And it's extremely hectic. 2.5, 3 weeks really since the conclusion of the TCU game. A ton of travel along the East Coast. Pleased with the results. Very appreciative to these guys, especially these guys that have been committed to us for a long time, for trusting in us and buying in early on. We signed the top 2 rated prospects here in the state of West Virginia, which was a goal. Our class represents 10 states, 2 foreign countries. Heavy focus on O-line and DBs in this class. And I'd say this class isn't done. Still have a chance to have maybe an addition later today. We will have some additions in February. And as you all know, we'll continue to find creative ways to add to our roster leading right up into fall camp. Recruiting is a team effort, and kind of want to talk about that and talk to you all about it and kind of give some of our fans kind of an inside look at what it looks like. But it's a team effort, and today's results are really a product of everyone in our entire organization and a lot of people on campus as well. Starts with our recruiting department. It's led by Brian Bennett, Casey Smith, and Scott Gasper. And they've got a group of interns that really looks at the prospects and combs through data. And then Katie Gusto and Michelle Stanley do an excellent job of hosting families and recruits when they get on campus. And really a large group of interns that assist in that process as well. And really do a tremendous job behind the scenes. Those aren't names you hear a lot, but they play a critical role during this recruiting process. I think our on-field coaching staff, especially during the rigors of the season, keeping up communication lines, and I thought they did a really good job of that. Our administrative staff, talking about Coleman Barnes assisting with our branding at all times, and Patrick Johnston in operations, and then Will Johnson in player relations plays a huge role in the recruiting when the guys get here on campus. Our GAs, our support areas, that probably goes unnoticed sometimes, but recruiting takes up a lot of weekends and a lot of extra time. And all our support areas, where it's athletic training with Vince Blankenship and his staff, academics, Brittany Odell and her staff, both of those areas are key when you're dealing with parents and families. And as a parent, I get that, and they do a great job. Strength conditioning is a huge piece when you're talking about guys making decisions, because so much is about developing how they can get prepared to go to the next level. And Mike Joseph and their staff, and what he's incorporated from a sports science standpoint gives us an edge over some of our opponents. Nutrition is an area that we continue to grow, and I think that's another edge that we have on people that we're competing against. And then student enhancement, Tangela Cheatham, really doing a good job of growing what is going to be our 5th quarter program. And this probably, people don't know this, but people on campus, our professors, I want to say we had deans meet with 4 of our prospects that we signed in one-on-one academic meetings, and then that just shows buy-in across campus. Dr. Gee has played an active role in recruiting. Hope he is recovering well from hip surgery. I'm sure he is. And then our current players, we do a player panel when we go through our junior day process, where our staff leads and families and recruits can ask our current players anything they would like to ask. We do, when they come on official visits, they always have player host, and our players are a big part of this process, and I think that's probably something that doesn't get talked about enough. And finishing up and kind of thanking people, as I want to thank for today. I thought we had tremendous coverage across all social media and our internet show, and so I want to thank our athletics communication staff led by Mike Montero and Mike Fergale. I want to thank our digital media, Grant. I was laughing because Monty was getting ready to Grant Dovey, and I almost slipped up because Monty was talking about giving some trash on Grant. But digital media has played a huge role in all seriousness. If you look across what Grant and his staff did today, is really impressive. And then finally, our football creative department, led by Austin Gaines, has done a nice job, and that's something that's growing in recruiting, and whether it's graphics, behind the scenes videos, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's an area that's continued to grow for us. So with all that being said, we got a lot of positive momentum heading into the holidays, heading into the off season. Just so you know, finals finished this week, graduation this weekend, and then our off season, our guys are back here on January 12th. Off season starts soon after, and we're off and rolling. The 21 class we're already deep into that process. This will be the 21 class will be our first opportunity to have really the 2-year run. We've already had 2 junior days in December. We'll have 3 at the minimum in January, and we've had several of our top prospects already on campus multiple times. So exciting days ahead. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
So Neal, 11 and a half months ago when you took the job, your anticipation of what you needed, how'd that change over the next 11 and a half months, and how did you fill it all?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that we have to fill it all, you know, in openness. I think it's going to be an ongoing process. You know, you're going to have natural needs every single year, you know, whether it's quarterback or certain line positions and things like that. What we did is intentionally, we didn't fill up as early as some people. I wanted to be able to see what we had when we got into Big 12 play, and see what exactly our immediate needs were that were going to give us an opportunity next year, but also our needs and to making sure we were having a quality roster 2 or 3, 4 years down the road. So I think obviously early on we identified, you know, we needed to add offensive linemen. We needed to add defensive backs. You know, defensive backs not just for secondary play, but also for special teams play. We were extremely thin. I think we traveled 5 corners to our last couple games, which is really thin. 3 of those guys are seniors. So, but I thought we did a really nice job addressing some of our needs. Some of them we got to continue to do that. I mean, running back will definitely sign one in February. That's a need that we didn't fill in today that we hope to in February.
Noticed New Jersey, South Florida, capital area. Is that something you try to make a priority, those areas?
Well, I think, so what we set out here is we took a 6-hour radius around Morgantown, and that needs to be our primary recruiting area. And I thought we did an okay job. I think we've got to continue to build relationships and grow our brand and grow our presence in that. And then we look at these secondary areas where we've had established relationships, whether it's in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, whatever it is. But the New Jersey area, I think I've told this story about Coach Neal, and he was talking about his '88 team, and he was talking about how many kids were from New Jersey. That's an area that when I was a young coach that recruited heavy. I've got an appreciation for the players in that state. I think we have a large student body representation from New Jersey, so I think it's a good fit in that regard as well. So that's an area that we want to be heavier in. You know, signed Charles Finley out there today. That's a big positive. But we want to continue to grow there. You know, the DMV is something that's one of the top or most fertile recruiting grounds in the entire country, and you know we've got to have a stronger presence in there. I thought for going in there with in a short amount of time, I thought we did a pretty good job. You know, I'm really excited about the guys we brought out of there. But I think we'll continue to grow. We got to get better in some areas. You know, state of Ohio, Western PA, we got to get better. But we're making some inroads, and sometimes those inroads and those relationships take time.
Did you ever think you'd need a passport to do recruiting?
That's interesting. You know, that was good. I was a little worried that mine wasn't up to date. But you know, we had a little bit of a hectic day last Thursday, so we started the day in Florida, in Clearwater. I was telling another group, I think it was 77. We got on the plane in Clearwater, and we got off, and it was in Celsius, and it was pretty cold when we got off in Ottawa. But you know, some fun stories. You know, I wanted to do this too, and I was going to do it at the end. I'll kind of do it now. I'm just going to kind of give you a little back on all these guys, kind of going down this list. Sam Brown, big pickup today. A lot of credit to Xavier Dye and Travis Trickett for seeing that. Guy that really excited about. I think his best football is ahead of him. He's a fast guy. Plays for a relatively new program down in Savannah, and he's got big ball. He's got big hands. He's got great ball skills. I just think he's got an opportunity to be a phenomenal college player, and we beat some really good people down the stretch to get him. And Savannah has been a really good area for us. You know, I think we're gonna have 4 players from that area over the last couple of recruiting classes. Linnell Carr, I'm just going to kind of alphabetically and kind of talk you through a little bit. Linnell Carr from St. Louis came. We saw him live in the spring. Coach Leslie did. Really identified him early on. He came, and this is the case now. You know, whenever you stage official visits, you roll the dice a little bit. Well, if you get them on campus early and they decide this is where they want to be, you gotta withstand a lot of visits that are going to come after you and things like that. And Linnell came early with his family, and he made the decision it's the best fit for him, and he never wavered. Didn't take another trip, and just a lot of trust. And he goes on and plays his best football as a senior, which isn't always the case. People think, oh, you naturally progress and you play your best ball. That's not always the case, but he did. Led his team to a state championship. If you go and I've been practicing saying this, so I want to make sure I get this right. Jaito, did I get that, Coleman? Jaito. Jaito. There you go. I guess say it fast. Jaito. All right, but you know, I think this is a great story. You're seeing it play out over, you know, not just here, but in several cases in college football. It's an international game, which I think is incredible for the game in general. But he came over and he came to a camp and was really, I think some of you probably saw him, may have even seen him in that camp, and he was physically impressive. You know, he ran well, he covered. We had a couple of elite receivers in that camp, and he was in lockdown mode, and just really kind of excited where this game is going to take him. And he's going to be here in January. Charles Finley, another kid that won a state championship at DePaul Catholic. He's a developmental guy, kind of his high school tape is very similar to Michael O'Loughlin, and I think O'Loughlin's got a really bright future here. Started 10 games as a redshirt freshman, and Charles is a guy that's going to continue to gain weight. And he's got ball skills. He can run routes. I think he'll develop into a real quality blocker. Zach Frazier is really, when I first got this job in January, the 2 prospects that we really set our sights on in this class early on were Zach Frazier and Sean Martin. I think it's very, very important for us in a state that has a low population, maybe not as many Power 5 type prospects as some other places, that we got to keep those guys within our state. And Zach is you know, wrestling. I think he's only been beaten one time, maybe as a high school wrestler. I think he's going to be perhaps a dominant player at center for us. He's got great football instincts. He's intelligent. Loves West Virginia. Garrett Green, our quarterback signee. I think I put this out on Twitter. He's a competitor. You know, and sometimes, you know, he runs a little hot, but it's all from a good place. And he's a kid that we have a relationship going back 2 years. I've seen him multiple times live in camp situations over that 2-year period. And he's a dual threat, where he can change arm angles. He made a lot of plays. And I think it says a lot when he stayed at his local high school. There's so many opportunities where he transfer and move away, and he really stayed right there. And his team was decimated with injuries over a couple-year period. He never said a word, just went to work and was really productive. Sean Martin, same that I talked about with Frazier. Sean had an incredible run. I think he's continued to play basketball. They got a chance to win state in basketball, winning program down in Bluefield, and we were just persistent. Chad Scott and Jordan Leslie were just really, really persistent. We had a setback early on with him when he made an earlier commitment. We just stayed persistent and stayed consistent with him, and that was probably as important of a win as any we had, not only for Sean but also just for the future in state. Jackie Matthews, and we'll stay on this same kind of theme, is from a winner. Takes Pinson Valley to the state championship as a senior in high school. Wins a national championship at Gulf Coast Community College. He's a winner. He's versatile. He can play any of the positions in the secondary. We'll probably start him in the safety role unless something changes. But has really good football instincts. Chris Mayo is integral to our future offensive line. Plays at the Petty School, very successful program. He's going to be college ready when he gets here. I mean, that's a really challenging academic school as well. And he jumped in this summer, and again, after he committed to us, he shut it down. Great family. Quay Mays is a kid that we've been recruiting since he was in high school. Really unique story. Played 1 year in high school football. Went to Northwest Mississippi College in Mississippi. They got beat in their league championship. Played for a guy that I used to work with at Troy, Coach Benji Parker. Key Messador is Jamal Adai and Jordan Leslie, man, really went to work on this one. I think this is a great example of why relationships matter so much. We really dug in on him early. He moved to Clearwater, had a great senior year, and that was a trip. We went from Clearwater to Ottawa. It was a full day, but it was absolutely worth it. And Darryl Porter Jr., dad played in the NFL, comes from one of the top programs in all of Florida, American Heritage. He's a guy that's got football smarts off the charts. He can come in and he can play multiple positions. He's going to start at corner. Torres Simmons, another Savannah guy, took his team to the state semifinals. His best football is in front of him. When he committed, he's about 205. He's 215 to 220. I think he'll continue to grow in that role. Reese Smith from my hometown. He's really the first player that I've actively recruited from home, and because that's always going to be home for me, so I've always been choosy about who we go back and try to get. So that tells you how much I think of him, because he's highly productive. He's about the right things. He's tough, physical. Tariq Stewart is an offensive lineman from Warrensville, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn. ASA Junior College. He's lost almost 80 pounds over the last 12 to 15 months. I think that shows his commitment. He's long, he's big, he'll be a tackle for us. I think that he's a guy that has a chance to be a factor for us next fall. David Vincent Acoli had a very, very strong performance in camp, maybe had as good a camp performance as anybody we had over the summer. Extremely fast, versatile, played offense and defense. We had to hold off some late charges, but we were able to do that. A really good job by Jamal Dye in that. DeVell Washington is a receiver that's been committed to us since back in the spring, never blinked. One of the first guys to jump in along with Reese and Garrett. And he's got big time potential. I think he's extremely raw. I think he's going to continue to mature, but he's powerful. And the last one is Jordan White. And Jordan White set out his whole junior year, but played at DeMatha, one of the top programs in the country. And if you watch his film, his senior film is